Chris Mackowski of Emerging Civil War. I'm with my good friend Garry Adelman, and we are at Bennett Place. And what a cool spot.
I love it here. I love the story here. It's a small site, but I like it. And you can picture what happened.
So what is it that speaks to you about Bennett Place?
For me, it's always been about the story. It's not that the surrender took here. It's the interaction of the generals here. I mean, you know, it is Johnson and Sherman who have been foes on battlefields again and again and again. They respected each other, you know, famously. Joe Johnston will compliment Sherman's army later in life. There was never an army in history such as this one, but this is a whole different ball game, right? And then you've got other people entering into it. You've got Breckinridge, and then you've got Hampton and Kilpatrick fighting outside, and it's playing out over, you know, the better part of a week and a half or 2 weeks. And then you've got Sherman, whether because of drink or grandiose, taking on too much. I mean, it's the humanity of it that I like.
Yeah. And Sherman offers famously overgenerous terms, but it's kind of in line with Lincoln's overall vision, even though there are a lot of political considerations.
Yeah, but I do question whether Lincoln would have allowed the return of slavery, which under Sherman's first terms would have allowed that. I don't know if he'd have wanted rebel arsenals filled with, you know, with guns and everything right at the end of the war. But his secondary terms were more generous than the Appomattox terms. So I'm going to say that it ended up with Lincoln's spirit anyway.
Yeah. And I think too, a part of it is Sherman's naivete. Like, he writes these things, and it's Stanton, the lawyer back in Washington, who's like, no, if you read it this way, this kind of stuff can happen.
Yeah, and if you don't use the word naivete, you are naive, you know, straight up there. So, yeah, I agree.
And the house behind us, not the original. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
history.
so if we were to go around the side, and maybe we will before this video is up, we would see the original chimney. The original house actually burned, so they took the same model house from another place in North Carolina, not too far away from here, and it's the same house, and they plopped it onto the same spot at the original chimney. So when you're standing in the room, you're in the same place, but in a different structure with old materials, is my memory of it.
So, a pretty small state historic site, but one well worth visiting.
No, I totally think so, and especially this is not an island here. I mean, you're in striking distance of Alamance and Guilford Courthouse and Bentonville and Aversboro, and of course plenty of history in downtown Raleigh as well. So, you know, when you're in the area, this is a must stop.
So I want to just quickly mention Bentonville since you brought it up. We had the chance to spend some time there earlier today, and huge battlefield, thanks in large part to the American Battlefield Trust.
Correct. More than, I think, 2,069 acres or something like that on 54 tracts ranging from 1 acre to 180 acres, working with our great partners at the state to really build that. I mean, this was a few hundred acres 15, 20 years ago, and it is a real deal battlefield, and it could not be bestowed upon a more energetic duo than Colby and Derek, who are there, who are trail making machines and sign laying machines, and they have good support from the state too, which is great. And it is, you know, North Carolina's largest battle, and the state's really behind that. And look for the American Battlefield Trust coming animated map on the battles of Aversboro and Bentonville.
So lots of great stuff. Garry, as always, a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, man. What do you think? If this is your video, so you can do what you want, but do you want to show them the original chimney as an outro?
I'm going to do it as B-roll, only so I don't have to film and walk at the same time.
Dude, look how sophisticated is Emerging Civil War. I'm Garry Adelman from the American Battlefield Trust.
Chris Mackowski of Emerging Civil War. We'll see you online and on the battlefield.